Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rabiatul Adawiyah binti Muhammad Rohani, and I would like to present an evaluation of the factor that influence students' performance during open and distance learning (ODL) using fuzzy analytic network process (FANP). And my supervisor for this research is Ms. Nur Soleha Hadiah binti Abdullah. 1. Introduction. World Health Organization (WHO) declared COVID-19 a pandemic on March 11, 2020, citing over 118,000 cases of coronavirus illness in more than 110 countries and territories worldwide, as well as the ongoing risk of global spread. And of course, Malaysia is one of countries affected by COVID-19. That's why University Technology Mara UiTM introduced an online delivery mode of teaching and learning known as Open and Distance Learning (ODL) on 30 April 2020 until the end of the semester at all of the university campus nationwide. But of course, some of students may face of the number constraints such as limited resources. That's why exploring the factors influence student performance during ODL is crucial. By apply the MCDM model based on the fuzzy analytic network process (FANP) in order to identify the factor that influence the performance student performance during ODL in the fuzzy environment. 2. Objective. First, to identify the factors and sub-factors that contribute to the influence of student performance during open and distance learning (ODL). Second, to evaluate the weight of factor and sub-factors that influence student performance by using the fuzzy analytic network process (FANP). And lastly, to rank the greatest factor and sub-factor that contribute to the influence of student performance, as well as to find the main difficulties of students during open and distance learning (ODL). 3. Methodology and implementation. Methodology. First, start. Second, data collection. Third, the analytic network process (ANP) model structure. And fourth, applying the fuzzy analytic network process (FANP) method. And fifth, ranking. And lastly, and all this chronological order is made to make it easier to understand for this research. Implementation. It will start with data collection. First, the study attendance audience of final year's degree student, which is semester 6 student only. The target number of respondents only required 13. And of course, all the respondents come from FSKM student at UiTM campus Kuala Terengganu. Second, they are between age of 23 until 26. They are also enrolled in the CS230, CS244, CS247, and CS264 programs. And lastly, question A was chosen as the research instrument for gathering information from respondents. The question A was created by using Google Form, and it will distribute by using a social media platform, which is Telegram. And the question A was divided into 3 parts, which is part A about respondent background, and part B about the pairwise comparison of factors, part C about the pairwise comparison of sub-factor. Next, the analytic network process (ANP) model structure. On my right is the illustrated 3 levels of network of factors and subfactors. All of these elements have been gathered from findings of past literatures. And next, applying the fuzzy analytic network process FANP method. Step 1. Develop pairwise comparison matrix to compute the local weights of factors and subfactors. Before developing pairwise comparison matrix, the result of question A will be converted to a triangular fuzzy scalar, which is, for example, in question A, if you choose a scalar number 1, it will be converted to triangular fuzzy scalar, which is 1, 1, 1. All of them will be added together to find the overall average. From that average, the pairwise comparison matrix was obtained. And on my right, from the first table until the third table is all the comparison matrix for factor and subfactors. Next step, we have to find the value of fuzzy synthetic extent by using equation 1. And equation 1, we can refer from the diagram on my right. And all the calculation is only shown for the factors. Okay, from the previous slide, all the value that we find, we have to compare each other for factor 1, factor 2, factor 3, and factor 4. To find the degree of possibility, can refer to equation 2 as well as the following. And again, on my right, I have the equation 2, and after compare all based on equation 2, we get the answer on the diagram. In all of these values, the next step is calculated by using equation 3 as follows. On the first diagram, which is equation 3, we have to find the minimum degree of possibility, and then we get the answer. Next, as the result of this calculation, the equation 4 can be obtained, which is the weight factor. So, on the second diagram, which is equation 4, we can get from the above. Here, lastly, the weight vector elements that have been normalized can be referred to in equation 5. This diagram on my right is the equation 5. We can get the local weight for factor and subfactors. Step 2. Evaluate the interdependence weights of the factors. The better judgment to deal with these interdependencies is to find relative weight with respect to a factors. And the table 1 on my right, we can get it from the pairwise comparison matrix. And then we continue using the same step like step 1 to get the degree of relative impact. And this is all thing find to for factor, not subfactor. Next, the interdependence weights of factor are calculated by multiplying the dependence matrix and the local weight of factors like at question 6. The diagram on my right above is the equation 6. From the equation 6, we can get the interdependence weight of the factors. All the answer converted into the table below. Step 3, Determine the global weights of the subfactors. The calculation will follow equation 7, just like the diagram on my right. Equation 7, which is interdependence weight of the factors multiply local weight of the subfactors. And then we can get the global weight of the subfactors by multiplying from the previous answer. And the final answer on the table. For result and discussion. Background of the respondents. This question A contains 18 questions divided into 3 parts and was distributed to 30 final years undergraduate students from FSKM at the University Teluk Cimara, Cawangan, Terengganu, Campus Kuala Terengganu, UiTM City KKT. The demographic detail on gender was presented below. So if we refer from the diagram, we can know that 30% from male respondent and 70% from female respondent. Next, the demographic details on program code were presented below. From the diagram, we know that 67% come from CS264, have two code with same percent, which is 3% come from CS244 and CS230, and lastly 27% come from CS247. Next one is interdependence weights of the factors. The interdependence weights of factors reveals that assessment has the highest value when compared to other factors. This suggests that assessment is the most important factors influencing student achievement. Second, as a result, because there are no face-to-face classes, online learning puts a lot of pressure on students because the assessments given by lecturers are increasing. So from the table on my right is the interdependence weights of the factors. The last one, rankings for all the subfactors. The final ranking for this study based on the highest value from the outcome of global weights for the subfactors. Second, according to the table, the first highest value is continuous assessment, followed by learning equipment in the second place, and class atmosphere in third place. So I already made the ranking from 1 until the ranking 6. So you all can refer from the table on my right. 5. Conclusion and recommendation. Conclusion. First, the FANP method was chosen over the fuzzy analytic hierarchy process, which is a FAHP method because of its advantage in complex decision-making problems with criteria than interdependence. Second, the FANP has been found to be practically feasible and compatible not only in the industrial scenario but also in socio-economic studies. These studies can demonstrate FNP ability to find solutions that can be used in any field of study. Recommendation. First, based on the conclusion, it is recommended to use other MCDM, namely FAHP, fuzzy topsis, and fuzzy Promethy, which can also be used to find factors that influence student performance. Second, in this study, 4 factor and 11 subfactor have been chosen. For features research can consider a greatest number of factors and subfactors by expanding more. And lastly, this study was emitted to final year students. For features research, we compare first year student to final year student to see what the difference are. Thank you for listening to my presentation until the end of this slide. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.